Need some comfort food in about an hour? How about meatloaf? Comfort food, it's kind of like a warm hug for the soul. How you doing? It's Butter. Thanks so much for checking out the video. And when I think comfort food, meatloaf is not too far down on the list. And if you don't mind getting your hands dirty, it's kind of fun to make. Now, I don't think a meatloaf comes complete without onion and green bell pepper. So I'm gonna give that a light saute really fast here. And while that's going, actually I almost forgot my garlic. I have garlic. So I've got some minced garlic here. That's going in with about a half a cup of onion and a half a cup of bell pepper. And again, we're gonna let that saute for a couple of minutes. In our bowl here, I've got a pound of hamburger meat. This is 80-20. I've already thrown in some ketchup because if I don't do it at the top, I will forget it. It's been generously salted and peppered. I'm also gonna throw in some shredded carrot. I like the color, and I think that through the course of the bake, that carrot will get done. So technically, we already have a low-key get-together, but we just need to make sure that all the attendees show up. And VIP right off the top would be the egg. That's of course gonna hold our little party together. I'm gonna be using a couple of tablespoons of panko breadcrumbs. How about a teaspoon of Italian seasoning going in? I'm gonna throw in a quarter teaspoon of paprika, and I'd say roughly 2 teaspoons of parsley. So that's gonna get going, and as soon as we get our meatloaf put together here, then we're gonna go ahead and do our glaze. All right, so we've got our loaf here. I try not to handle it too much. Of course, obviously, you do wanna get all of your ingredients incorporated and get this party going, if you will, but at the same time, you don't want your meatloaf to be too dense. So I'm gonna do my best here to get it into somewhat of a loaf shape. And I'm trying really hard not to make a mess in the process. So we are ready to put our meatloaf in the oven, and that is already preheated to 375 degrees. Now this is gonna take about an hour to cook. I like to cover my meatloaf for the first half, and then of course, at about 40 minutes, that's when we'll put our glaze on. All right, now that the meatloaf is in the oven, let's go ahead and get our glaze together. Super easy, super yummy, and there's only a few ingredients involved. First, of course, I got about a quarter cup of ketchup. To that, I'm going to add about a quarter teaspoon of vinegar. Not the biggest fan of vinegar, not unless turnip greens are involved. We've got a tablespoon of brown sugar going in. I'm going to use a half a teaspoon of tomato powder. If you do not have tomato powder, this is not something that you need to worry about. You can just skip right over it. I'm also going to use a quarter teaspoon of garlic powder. That is going in, and a quarter teaspoon of onion powder. We also need a dash of salt and a dash of pepper. And this wire whisk will definitely help. Alrighty. Looks like we've got a nice little glaze. What we want to do is get that covered. I'm going to put it back in the fridge. Let those flavors meld together. And then when we hit the 40-minute mark, that's when I'll get the meatloaf out of the oven and we'll slather this lovely stuff on. All right, so the meatloaf is out of the oven. It's been 40 minutes, and now we wanna slather on this yummy glaze. Doesn't get much easier than this either. Of course, this has been in the fridge since we put the meatloaf in. I'm gonna use every single bit of it. Oh yeah. This is gonna be so good. All right, so we got our glaze on. I'm gonna put this back in the oven, but this time I'm not gonna cover it. I want this glaze to get nice and thick. So back in the oven for 20 minutes. All right, so the meatloaf is out of the oven and I've let it rest for about 10 minutes before slicing in. And I just can't wait any longer. I can't tell you how amazing it smells in this kitchen right now. I'm hoping it's gonna stay together because tonight I'm gonna have a meatloaf sandwich. That's what's for dinner. Let me give it a bite here and see what it tastes like. That is much better than I expected. I sure hope that you'll make this for the ones you love, and thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time on Cooking with Butter.